Welcome everybody to Gold Team League day number 2, and we have got a good one for you today. It is Yu Ying versus Trunks, LF versus LP, and two of the more well-known Chinese players in the Western world. Yu Ying, of course, making it top 8 in the World Championships in 2019. Trunks winning Hearthstone Global Games in 2018, although he did most of his good work in 2017 to get into that team. And very much the old guard versus the new guard, at least from what we have seen on the Western scene. It is last hero standing. It is best of 5. I don't know why I had to think about that. Yu Ying on the Highlander Rogue with Trunks on the more regular Rogue variant. Galakrond Rogue or Secret Galakrond Rogue. And Yu Ying has a terrific looking hand here. It's going to be able to curve out extremely nicely. Any hand with Zephrys is always a terrific looking hand. It's exactly where you want to be. But Trunks, with 2-0 mana cards in hand, and Mr. Edwin Van Cleef, this is always a situation that can get out of hand very quickly indeed. So the last hero standing nature of this has been important so far. On day 1 we saw both Demon Hunter and Zoo Warlock just go undefeated in their games for a 3-0 and a 3-1 respectively. And Rogue maybe not the class to do that with. From what we have seen in our Grandmasters, we have seen very much Rogue struggling, along with several other classes. Bringing Rogue hasn't been a mistake as such. It's just been there's nothing. Yeah, you can bring Rogue, you can bring Priest, you can bring numerous things. I want to say, I'm just trying desperately not to say Druid, but you can bring Druid. But really, you want Demon Hunter, you want Warrior, and then the rest of the lineup is whatever you fancy on the day. Last hero standing though, a little bit different. You can target your opponent's decks after game 1, and that makes a big difference. You can bring a deck to do a job. Suddenly, yeah, if you've got your Rogue deck to target something, it becomes much more useful. If you want your Zoo to just smash somebody's face in, it becomes a lot more useful. This is played pre-nerf as well, as you'll notice throughout the day. I'm just watching this disgusting Hearthstone turn occur right now before my eyes, and it just appears there's no way Yu Ying's going to be able to deal with this. I've lost track of how big this Edwin's going to be. Probably about 12? Who knows? Stop making dragons! It's unfair. I mean, Yu Ying knows what's happening, right? You don't make this play unless Mr. Van Cleef's hitting the board, and Yu Ying's thinking, well, I've got a backstab. That'll help. Skyvateer, woof. Can't attack that. Some 4/4s on my side, that'd be nice. Or I can draw Flick Skyshiv and just blow the Van Cleef up. Obviously he'll lose his own Van Cleef, but yeah, I often rant that at the top level, if a player rips a card off the top that looks perfect, they'll think about it for a while just to make sure they're not being struggling with like some sort of recency bias. That is a thing that you can fall into in Hearthstone. But yeah, you rip this, you whack it on the table, and you kill your opponent's 12/12. That's just good. And the fact it came off the top of the deck as well, Trunks must be pretty sad right about now. Yu Ying just has managed to get everything in his favour without really missing out. It's just the power of an early Zephrys. And the board state is now basically even. There will be a lot of back and forth normally in what is effectively a rogue mill. I understand one is Highlander and one is not, but Yu Ying just pulling ahead on tempo and on value, which is a great spot to be in. Blowing up that Edwin, absolutely wonderful. And of course all the dragons that were generated on that turn. Sure, it wasn't a disaster. You should always try and use your cards well when you're making an Edwin. If you're making an Edwin just for the sake of it, like you play your minion and you backstab your own minion and then, I don't know, you eviscerate your own face or something. Probably your opponent's face, but you know. You can waste a lot of value just generating a big Edwin that then gets killed. But these dragons did at least get some use, but those Shadow Steps could be a lot more useful later on for other cards. So quite a lot of value was sunk into generating the Edwin here. And that's going to give Yu Ying a really good spot. Don't know if there's going to be any difference, but we have little to go on overall here. So in the intro sequences, I did look at LP and they just seemed really serious business, right? So if we go with that generalisation of the LP team, is serious business the way forward in Team Hearthstone? You need to be in a position where you can forgive your teammates when they lose and expect to be forgiven when you lose, and work on the understanding that everyone's trying their hardest. Whereas the Lucky Fortune guys, they just seem to be having a right laugh. Yu Ying with the microphone. But either way, I absolutely adore those intro sequences. Ask me again in 329 broadcast time whether I still love them. You may get a different answer, but for now I think they are wonderful to watch. Trunks having to tidy up what he can. Trades into the 3-3 to keep his minion out of the way of the dagger. So Yu Ying would have to play another card or another threat to stop this Shield of Galakrond being able to kill both minions on the opposing board. So very nice bit of work there from Trunks. And Yu Ying has the decision to make now how he wants to play the rest of this game. Does he want maximum value, or does he feel that right now is the time to go for this tempo? And that's all about, do I play Kronks? Kronks into Tyrion with his Vendetta blowing up a 5-2 in the meantime. Does seem, and that is what he's going to do. A lot of attack and health on the board. Even more next turn when Tyrion comes down. So deciding that he's going to give up the very long term in this game for value by just winning the game. And then you don't need any more value. He's going to win the game with huge things on board. Trunks though has the tools if he can hang on in there. There's plenty of value in his hand right now. But none of it really seems to function as you would like. So he just occupies the board the best he can. And Yu Ying just continuing with his plan. Has got the option to stick this into the face, put Trunks down to 12, and leave him with the gargantuan problem of dealing with all this stuff. But he does choose to trade and trying to win through just huge board presence. Alright, well this needs to hit both the 1 health minions to have a chance. If this hits the Divine Shield, it's really just going to... Well, don't worry about it. Trunks hits both targets. And now Yu Ying is going to have to work out how he wants to proceed. Otherwise things were just going to be easy. Hit my opponent until they die from a lack of health. So, with his plan being board occupation so far, I see no reason to change that. Yeah, unfortunately for him... Huh. Wanted to buff something that wasn't the Tyrion. Didn't pull the lucky he wants. So that's going to cost him a card draw. Obviously, that's small in the scheme of things, but having to evolve this guy Tyrion, not quite where he wants to be at right now. As he is kind of all in on the plan he has generated. It looks like a good plan. Like, let's not mess around. He's setting up constant. If my opponent does nothing, they're going to take just such a beating they won't be able to come back. But Trunks is still surviving. He's not getting the lackeys that he would really desire to help him at the moment. In an ideal world for Trunks, he'd be getting lackeys that generate spells and lackeys that do 2 damage, kobold lackeys for instance. Oh, I take it all back. Earth Elemental is just a perfect blocker right now. Okay, we can see Yu Ying has the sap, and that'll be part of why he's gone for this plan. But that has put Trunks in a significantly better position than he was in. Yeah, and get rid of Tyrion Part 1 while you can. Worry about the weapon later. So the Eviscerate should take care of the Earth Elemental. That's reasonably obvious. And then just the stuff on board going to face would be 12 damage. At which point you then assume everything will work out okay, but it might not. Trunks can find another taunt. I believe this is not Bamboozle currently in play. So yeah, eviscerating here. And I'd just like to see this all go face.
Whoa, legendary!
Black Jackson and another secret. I think is ambush. Yep, it is. So Trunks, you're down to 1 turn. Yu Ying is out of stuff in terms of attacking options, at least. Depending, if, of course, if you can call Sap an attacking option. Yeah, well, Trunks is still finding things. These are more like the luckies he would want. Getting to the point where he can just about take. Well, he can take care of the board now. Still facing down death to 2 swipes of the weapon, though. Oh, the right-hand card. No idea what it's called at all. But that turns 5/2 weapons into 2/2 poison weapons. That seems like a very good take right now. And it's basically gained Trunks 6 health, which is gigantic right now. Yu Ying with very little comeback. Obviously, he's got Galakond. He can start making lackeys and get value that way. It's huge. But his actual hand is depleted of things. And Trunks has plenty of damage in hand. He has plenty of damage on board. I'm hesitant to say he's stabilised because 10 health and your opponent having a weapon of any sort is just not stable at all. But Trunks is back in this. Absolutely. Blackjack Stunner with Secret is going to stop Yu Ying from being able to do anything with the very limited resources he has left. Having to seal fate the lackey there, or choosing to. There is still a lackey in hand, so it doesn't really play around Togwaggle, but maybe he feels that he'd rather have at least some control over the lackey situation. When it comes to Togwaggle, it's kind of forcing Trunks not to be able to play the other lackey in his hand. Because Trunks needs to save that until he can either get another lackey or draw Togwaggle. So, interesting play there. He's going to leave up a 1-2 instead of a 1-1. But maybe forcing a card to stay in Trunks' hand. Remember that Trunks has used his Shadow Steps on that Edwin early in the game. They'd be quite nice right about now to generate some more value of his own. But Yu Ying, I think, is going to need a good dragon. Otherwise, he's going to die in 2 or 3 turns himself. And suddenly 10 damage to Trunks seems a mile away. It looked so easy not long ago. For some reason, since the dawn of Hearthstone, seeing Nozdormu in options just makes me laugh. But it's not the option right now. And how do you deal with this? You have to, is he going to have to attack into the ambush token to protect his 7/7? That looks how it is to me. 7/7 doesn't even really do much. The 5/6 dragon makes another one when it's replayed. Sorry, when its death rattle goes off, not when it's replayed. Otherwise, that would be broken, and that would be a really bad sap. As it is, it's a really good sap. Yeah, Yu Ying fishing for value here to try and keep himself going. Trunks is delighted. The Galakon opens up so many choices to him. Deciding not to tank the 7, that would have been quite scary, although definitely a possibility that was open to him, given that Galakon would heal it back up. But yeah, now he has just value from all directions and 15 health, so he also has time as well. You know, the more I look at this, the more he's taking 7 anyway. The more I'd like to have seen him just poison this 7/7 to death. Yeah, he's ended up going into it anyway, so sure. But obviously he got to look at several lackeys before having to make that decision, so it's not quite so clear-cut. But 8 health seems reasonable enough to me. Alright. Yu Ying now going in Togwaggle mode, and he needs it. He's lost this board. Well, there's some gear. Excuse me? How would you like to just do everything, and if it goes wrong, blow it all up and try and do everything again? That's insane. But not removing much from the board. Let's do a bit of counting here. There's 13 if you count the weapon facing Yu Ying down, and there's an Eviscerate in hand for Trunks. So Yu Ying can't afford to get greedy with his health total here. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 and 4 is 16. Trunks points everything at the face And Yu Ying is going to get the bad news. But there is indeed an Eviscerate in his opponent's hand. And a crazy back and forth. As we see a little... I was going to say it's BM, but it's not. He has got to play a card to get the Eviscerate to do 4 damage. That would have been quite the blunder. Although, I guess you could do it the other order. You still win. And 1-0 to Trunks after losing a 12-12 Edwin. And then looking like he was up against Tyrion and all kinds of stuff. But his rogue progresses. And now he gets to take on a Demon Hunter with it. Which, you know, its last hero. Your opponent's entitled to have a good matchup in game number 2. So, Demon Hunter mulligans are incredibly tough in general because they always look so good. So the question is, how greedy would you like to be? As you can see, this is the Priestess version, which so far seems to have been the prevalent version in week 1 of the China Team League. The unplayable mummy. I've faced this at times when my MMR has dipped, and you always win when your opponent plays it. Taking 1 mana off an early full hand of cards is just allows you to do incredible things no matter what you're playing. Difficult. Well, there's a choice available here. Obviously, setting up the dagger, trading into the 2/2 just gives you a good start on the board. Definitely worth considering, but you know, so is setting up a secret that can potentially just make your next turn an even better version of this one. Ambush can wait. There's bigger things to kill with the ambush token later, I guess, is the view. And next turn, Trunks basically has nothing to do. Yu Ying's hand developing nicely. When you play the Fell Screamer, it's always a little bit reliant on your demon draw, but in general it's just one of the most busted cards in Demon Hunter, or at least, yeah, pre-nerf it was, because it allows you to play Priestess on turn 5, which is often enough to just win a game of Hearthstone. And I'm going to apologise now, even though I got it right this time. At some point in this tournament, I'm going to think that Fell Screamer is Altruis, because everything about casting involves taking little clues. You don't even look at pictures fully. You just look at mana cost and is there a bit of green and purple in the picture? Yes. Okay, it's Altruis. Well, no, it's not a legendary card. It's not the right picture, and it's not a 4/2. But hey, not only that, but Altruis probably cost 3 back then. But at some point, I'm going to get it wrong, and I apologise for being silly in advance. Meanwhile, Trunks choosing to try and get some value out of his Miscreant. I don't know. I don't see what he can draw that really helps this Miscreant. I think I just put it on the board, except that it doesn't do much, because he may have no turn again next turn. But at least if he can pick up a secret next turn, maybe he can play a 2 and dagger and start taking things down. I feel that playing the Miscreant there and pretending to challenge the board, if you like, it might take down 2 minions and it might make your next turn better. Yeah, I'd like to have seen that go on curve, personally. So Yu Ying working out how to use his coin is a big deal here. Getting through this double Warglaives can sometimes be a bit of a pain. So yeah, this was likely to play, but now he has a cluster of 5 drops, which is going to involve a bit of work. Takes care of the board, and let's see if Trunks is rewarded for last turn. He is not. And whereas this turn he could now be attacking into 2 minions, well, he couldn't because they've been traded away. Now he's just got nothing going on. Don't do it. It is always wrong. If you're thinking about the mummy, do not play that card until your opponent has 0 cards. It's a Demon Hunter who has just coined out a 4-drop. There's every chance his next turn's not very good because he chose not to play a 3 on curve. Don't do it. Just don't do it, man. Nothing good ever happens. I'm telling you now. Cool. Just for a second there. Yep. Acknowledging that this game of Hearthstone, the Miscreant just basically never gets anything to do, but it has an opportunity, should Yu Ying not take care of it, to turn into a 4/4 next turn and do some serious damage. And you know, from where Trunks is sat, it's not 100% certain that Yu Ying won't choose. Yeah, he's nodding. It's like, yeah, okay. Well, I tried to tempt you into sticking a load of damage into my face and just ignoring it. He acknowledges his opponent got that right, but good play. This is a game played between 2 human beings who are fallible. If your 1/4 does nothing for the whole game, turn it into a card that maybe does something. Give yourself a chance for your opponent to make a mistake. They can't see your hand. They might do weird things because of it. Flick takes care of the priestess. But while I've been talking about how to play Hearthstone, Yu Ying's hand has just gone from good to really good. Probably just going to take 8 damage here. One of the things that good Demon Hunter players do is just eat damage. Yeah, taking 4, because good Demon Hunter players also actually use their hero power. There was the opportunity though just to play the 1-drop and do the same thing and take 4 more damage. I may even have preferred that. I think I'd rather, if you had the opportunity now to pay 4 health and have that on the board, I think you'd want it there. And what I see from the best Demon Hunter players is the willingness to just absorb chunky amounts of damage in order to win the game. Either way though, still in a good spot. Very much looking at shooting this down with the Adept. There is just the option to play Metamorphosis now. Get that 10 damage working. Don't like that really though. There's no comfortable way to use your Adept. Maybe you do have to do something different. This is actually a really difficult turn. Made more difficult by the fact he hasn't got a 3/2 minion on the board. Definitely would have liked to see that played last turn. The more I look at it, the more I think that would be correct. Either way though, it's worked out okay. It's never going to work out badly having weapon charges, but there's also no guarantee he would have got to play another weapon or another Wargreaves at least anytime soon. And let's face it, this looks pretty good. Well, Trunks, this looks like just a good turn to start killing everything. Faces Corruptors are very good cards in this situation. There's such a good synergy with Lackey. I mean, remember, it's not that long ago that this card was nerfed, and it wasn't nerfed out of sight or off the planet. It was just nerfed because everybody was worried it was just insane, and the way it works well with Lackeys. Here we go. He's going for the double shot first. Realising that Yu Ying is A, running out of stuff, but also B, getting close to doing sort of the last chunky damage. What use are those cards if you die with them in your hand? Yeah, just getting as much tempo as he can. Willing to take a point of damage rather than put it on his minion. Interesting. Two 1 for 1. That card may not survive the next round of nerfs, ladies and gentlemen. Something just tells me it might become a 1-1. There's Altruis. And his naught drop friends. They aren't actually that useful this turn. And Trunks' last turn with the bouncing of a Kobold Lackey has really given Yu Ying a bit of a problem. If Yu Ying gets one more turn, this game goes nutty because that's how Altruis functions. Yeah, and he's decided that's the way forward. Just hope nothing too bad happens to me. What could go wrong with two 4/4s on the board? And if I get another turn, it's going to be one heck of a good turn. But Trunks has decided, you know what? I can push a lot of damage here. And that amount of damage has just gone up. And it's gone up again. It's getting ridiculous. How many different ways do you want to set up lethals for next turn? And the way to do this normally is don't go too wide now. He hasn't really got much to choose, but if you are ever in this situation against Demon Hunter where you win next turn, make sure to keep back some minions. Because the one way it can go wrong is Altruis. Alright, here it goes. I-Beam is a good pickup as well. Goes well with the Altruis and also gains that little bit of health that he's needing. Trunks Expressionist. Altruis always feels a little like Yogg used to. You just sit there and sort of look away, then look back when it's done and hope you're still there. Or Puzzle Box would be the more modern example, I guess. You just wait for it to stop, and eventually it stops, and you just have to hope you can still play Hearthstone afterwards. Yeah, Trunks has reached the, okay, are we nearly there yet stage? Like, really? Have you finished? Have you quite finished doing things to me this turn? There we go. Trunks did so much damage this game by bouncing things back to his hand. And the turn where he did it to take control of the board, bouncing the lackeys, was absolutely insane. It was a really good use of his resources. And I think Trunks is playing superbly. 2-0 with Rogue in Last Hero Standing and beaten the deck that was queued up to counter it. This is always a good spot to be in Last Hero. Needs to do it once more. And against Mage, a giant Edwin can just win you the game on the spot. Like, if they don't polymorph it, you win. Quite often there isn't a polymorph in the main, so they have to find a way to freeze it while they're digging for solutions. And already Trunks just working out what am I going to do with this Edwin? Like, how big do I want it to be? What do I want to do about it? Do I want to play a Blackjack Stunner now, so I've got a thing to bounce and a thing to Shadow Step and a thing to maybe even backstab on the replay? And I think this means he's going to just do everything next turn and say, go Edwin, go. But also, playing a Blackjack Stunner onto an empty board against Mage when you have a little bit of time against Mage may well alert you, Ying, to the fact this needs taking care of. Yeah. And now your Edwin is gone from being some large number that I'm not going to guess at and get wrong, that was probably about 10, to a 4-4. And now you've got to decide what you're going to do. In this turn, simply enough, you dagger up, make your choice whether you want to attack with it or not, and see what you pick up. But then next turn, if you don't pick up anything of use, becomes extremely difficult. Yu Ying needs to decide whether he wants to play Doomsayer for tempo now, which goes into a nice Twilight Drake, or a nice Mana Saber, come to that. Or if he wants to just occupy the minions he's got. I like just playing a Doomsayer here. Alright, we see the ping face. We saw this in yesterday's play as well. Plays on Seal Fate going on to turn 3. I'd like to see Doomsayer come down there though. Rather than try and use it for a board clear, playing it into your 4-drops just seems nice. Having the board against Rogue when you are the Mage just seems nice. Easy for me to say because I could see that Doomsayer would have prevented this, but it was an interesting choice that he took. And we'll get to see if that pays off or not when he now gets to freeze this Edwin and blow it up with a Doomsayer potentially. Okay. So played for this. I believe he played for this as well because turn 1 was... It's easy to say as a caster vision guy, but turn 1 was a giveaway that something was happening. Even if you can't necessarily really work out exactly what was happening, you knew something was happening. This would be an important spell, Discover. Find yourself a sap. Or possibly something better, who knows. So Eviscerate's better. Gets rid of the Doomsayer entirely, and now there's a 9-8 chilling on the board. And it's about now that Yu Ying should be super concerned for this match. Mage does not die fast though. But the problem we've seen Mage have already, and the problem I think we'll see it have again, is not the part where you don't die, it's the part where you find a turn to swing around the tempo and still not die. So this is a good way towards doing that. Gain that extra mana, freeze up the 9-8, get something on board. Otherwise, what will happen is the board gets wider and wider, the Mage freezes it and hangs on in there, but never actually removes it. And then one day they eventually take a turn to remove it, and by that time Trunks' hand has filled up, and you just build another board. As you can see here, this is sort of what I was talking about. Yep, this takes care of a thing, and it's very good pickup. Getting rid of this Edwin is super important. But next turn, there's a good chance that he's just in the same spot again. As it happens, he can't be because Trunks can't do the Togwaggle thing. But next turn now, with this pickup of the Devoted Maniac, Trunks can generate a Lackey and set up some Togwaggling action for the turn after. Not the worst Lackey in the world to pick up here. I like just trading here and then changing my minion into a 6-drop. But you do always get this feeling when you're playing against Mage that if they get to 10 mana, you're in a world of trouble. And if you sit around trading all day, you just let them get there without challenging their health total. And if Trunks goes face, he won't want to change the minion, he'll instead change the Devoted Maniac. If he trades, he'll want to turn his 5-1 into something that can survive a ping. He's actually just leaving it up. Because it's his only Lackey, obviously. So he needs that for Togwaggle. So yeah, super complicated turn there. Because Togwaggle next turn into actually getting the cards the turn after is quite a long way off, whereas having a 5-1 turn into about a 5-6 is relevant. Maybe then you seal fate something to get another Lackey and do all the Togwaggle stuff later. Definitely a tough choice. Well, this is a much easier choice. This is the play you decided to make last turn. This is what you wanted to do, so you do it. Get yourself a nice wand for next turn. And expect really to Galakond quite possibly on the full level 3 Galakond the turn after the wand. And beat the race to 10 mana for the Mage. Usually I talk about the 10 mana turn, that's usually the turn when the box goes off, but also Reno. When they start getting towards 10 mana, good things start happening to them. You get Power of Creation, etc. and Pilgrim. All the nice stuff starts to happen. But the lack of pressure by Trunks in setting this up has allowed Yu Ying to get a short-term board. I imagine that will be eradicated after this, but you never know. Oh, and a 0 mana Kronks to play on the Galakond turn if he wants. No secret to go alongside the Stunner here. But a Seal Fate to pick up. Another Invoke. So we know the Galakond's level 2, but we don't know if it's 1 or 2 bumps away from level 3. Okay. Wow. I feel like he's not... He's 2-0 up. But I feel like he hasn't had the best run with the lackeys in this whole match so far. Decision again gets difficult with this Normana stuff because next turn he wants to Galakond. So just cleaning everything up. Seems fine. He's got a decent enough board. He's got an amazing turn coming up. And again, from where he's sat, he's racing the Mage's good stuff. Yeah, and the good stuff starts now. 21 health is enough that you can afford to play this, I feel. If you keep freezing and playing rubbish minions, you don't get anywhere, like I described earlier. So, be willing to take a bit of a beating. Get your Alex down. Sure. Amazing how often that happens. Oh my goodness. Alexception. You do it, right? I guess Bali's also a good pick, though. Yeah, okay. This is why good players think about their things. Like, do it now, though, please, for us. Dragons are better than spells. We want more naught-cost dragons. Honestly, this is really tough. All three of these cards on the current board state are really, really playable. Yeah, watching your opponent discover 2 more dragons. Oh my. Still on 21 health. Going into this turn, without that Alex pickup, it looked like Yu Ying was going to start taking damage and not have much value, but yeah. Oh, really? Okay, so Trunks thinks he can get there. Trunks thinks this is going to get there. I'm good. And he's probably right. I was also forgetting that this is pre-nerf, so that the Alex does cost 11, not 10. So this makes far more... I mean, I think it made sense anyway, but makes far more sense than my initial reaction there. It's not quite as outrageous as I first thought. Alright, so... which one gives you the best chance? He's trying... So how you work this is you look at... okay, I'll play Reno, everything dies, that's good. And then you look for any other option that might function. You just look through your cards one at a time, see if anything looks like it might work. And then you play the Reno, because you're going to die if you don't. Well, that's a lot of zero-cost stuff Trunks just went through. There's a lot more where that came from. Interesting. So he's rating the fully invoked Galakon higher than the Devastation. So the 5-2 weapon he feels is better than the Devastation. Because he could have played this in the other order and not had the 5-2 weapon, not had as many cards, of course. And I think this is a really nice judgment. This does set up lethal. You're always going to get some damage somewhere from a Lackey barring absolutely insanely bad rolls. Trunks must be sick of evolving things though. He's had pretty grim luck with those. So Zephyrus obviously gives you young some sort of chance to survive again. There's always brawls, there's also shadow words of various breeds. Nothing of use there. Obviously this was his plan. He was hoping for something a bit more influential than he got though. And Trunks is just nibbling away that health total piece by piece. Shadow stepping Kronks. Looks like fun. Sort of fun I like. Does have the option to take out the 412 with his Faceless and various messing around, but it's putting a lot of damage into one minion. And that's where the problem lies here, is being how efficient can he be? And this Shadow Step's absolutely nuts. He can do so many things with it. It's making this such a difficult turn. But it's the sort of problem you like to have. Well, let's hope he got everything off here. This looks like a beautifully planned turn. Clear the board, save the Shadow Step for the Kronks, sets up some taunts, keeps lethal handy, and everything gets blown up. But what a well managed turn. Super from Trunks. I feel that the Trunks we're seeing now is actually better than the Trunks we were seeing back when Trunks was thought to be good. I don't remember him ever being this accurate with a lot of his play before. He tended to be quite sloppy, in fact. Like, old Trunks would have got halfway through that turn, even if he was going to get it right and roped or something, and I don't know, I just feel that he's been working hard at his game when we haven't been seeing him here. Maybe working on his focus, like that used to seem to be a thing. And obviously I'm talking like sort of 3 years ago, so there's no reason why he can't be an entirely significantly better player. And hopefully I'm not being too rude to him by saying that, because I don't get to watch his progression quite as much as obviously the Chinese audience will. But I just feel that his play now is streets apart from what it used to be. He's down to 5 cards left in his deck. Obviously he has Lackey Generation for some value. Obviously he's still making board after board and still chipping away that damage. Can have a very good turn as well with the Hana that's being set up. There is a feeling that Yu Ying is starting to... Well, Yu Ying has got the answers, but he needs a question from somewhere. But it may just be he may just go for, if I answer everything in the entire deck, what are you going to do? What are you going to kill me with? I'm on 18. Just the way the game has turned out has been kind of strange. So you want some more stuff? That's just the generic stuff that Highlander Mage has to play. Don't want that at the moment. Looks like he's going to have to Zephyrus to clear this board. Draw this lot away. Always a slightly nerve-wracking moment when you have to draw. You always feel that Zephyrus could just offer you something better. Turns out there isn't anything. Oof. It's a tough minion to get rid of. Also time to decide what you want to do with your Kronks. Do you want an 8-8 with it? You've just seen your opponent blow Zephyrus to clear a fairly, not innocuous board, but a very flame strikeable board. Board of general bits and pieces. So it's like, okay, well here's another board. And next turn, you know what? I've got Kronks. If you clear this lot up, you've got to face even another board. And repeat until my voice gets higher and higher. At which point, people would probably start to tune out even more than usual. Yu Ying's had a tough day. It feels like Game 1, it looked like he had a great chance and something didn't quite go his way. Game 2 sort of seemed to get in a bit of a tangle with the Demon Hunter to some extent. Not saying that was his fault necessarily, but the 5 mana cards were all tripping each other up. And in this game, this has just been the matchup. Like, has not been able to turn around the board state, but is still in there trying to do so, still in there fighting for it. And now the Secret Circus comes to town. cue your favourite choice of clown music because there's going to be secrets everywhere. Some of the artwork is absolutely superb, isn't it? Like, what's even going on with the Bamboozle there? Like, whatever the thing at the front is, like the Murloc hybrid nonsense monster, it just looks so out of place. In the most correct way you can make something look out of place. Alright. Secrets everywhere. So, Yu Ying, correct ordering to play around every secret in Hearthstone. Good luck. Go. The great thing from Trunks' side, obviously he has to think about what to take. But in general, you just go, okay, here's the problem. You've got to solve it, and I don't care. I know you'll make some mistakes because it's impossible to solve in 70 seconds. So I'm just going to sit and watch you get things wrong. And it's going to be wonderful. It's like the reverse of the Yogg puzzle box stuff I was talking about earlier. In this situation, you just watch the board and enjoy everything your opponent does going wrong for them. Unless you're the one facing, then they're really unfun, as you can see from Yu Ying's face. It's like, what even just happened here? Can you just leave my Siamat alone? Oh my goodness, my Siamat is just self-destructed, and that was not good. I was joking a bit as to how horrible it was going to be, but that was really grim. But looking at the board now, Trunks is completely out of stuff. His last card is used. He's down to a Kronks and some lackeys. And on the other side, there's still the Malygos there for Yu Ying, which should be able to clear one more board at some point. Sorry, Kronks, some lackeys, and of course another whole carousel of secrets. Which is a big deal. Trunks also needs to work out whether he wants to tap or hero power for a lackey or have an extra secret at some point as well. Is a random secret really as good as a lackey that can be... Okay, it's random, but you can manipulate how good it is with some actual Hearthstoning. Do you make an 8-8? That would be my instinct here. No, he's buffing, he's getting the damage in. So yeah, he gets 4 of the damage from an 8-8 in one hit here. If these any 2 minions hit again, he's covered the 8-8 already. Well, that's a pretty good roll from the Reno. Lots of good stuff, but is it good enough? I'm going to work on the assumption that in the Gold Team Championship, the players are allowed deck trackers, the same as they are in our Grandmasters. So Yu Ying knows roughly what's going on in this hand. Obviously there's a random secret and a random minion. Well, discover puzzle box. I'm not even going to try and do this in Chinese. I'm just going to watch things change. And that's what Trunks is going to do. And he understands what the cards say. I understand what some of them say from the pictures, obviously. But I'm not going to get them wrong on purpose. I'm just going to watch. Yeah? Nothing seems to be happening. When my opponents play Puzzle Box, all my things vanish and then I die. But that's not what has happened here. And has Yu Ying... Yeah. 9, 11. At least 2 lackeys available. Kobold lackey would be lethal. That's the wrong lackey, but 2 dragons is at least more value. Still got the secret carousel to go. Yeah, Bamboozle with a taunt minion up just always feels good. Mages use a lot of spells this game, and as you can see, actually, Yu Ying is out of spells. It's all down to minions, so getting through this Shield of Galakon is actually going to involve Bamboozle going off. And he isn't even worried about 5/4s. If you want to Bamboozle upwards, good luck to you. And now Yu Ying's actually into fatigue himself as well. I don't know why I'm surprised by that. The number's been on screen the whole time, but this means he has to do 28 damage in 2 turns or get some crazy Reno heal. The puzzle box is gone, so that's the main crazy thing that can happen. Trunks is on the verge of a 3-0 last hero standing win with Rogue, with Secret Rogue. That is something I would not predict. Yu Ying gives it up. LP Trunks is our winner in this first game of day 2. 3-0 with Rogue. Got another match coming up for you very soon.